What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on Buy Sell Cars TV. Today we're going to be heading over down to BCA Blackbush because I have bought a super high mileage Volkswagen Polo. It's a 1.2 58 reg and it has done 200,000 miles. That is right, I did say 200. Crazy high mileage car, so I wanted to bring that insight to show you what's this car going to be like, because it's an online purchase, completely blind. I have not seen it, I have not heard the engine, I have not test driven it, so everything you're going to see today is going to be first hand in this video. And just a quick one, if you do want to continue to see more content like this, please do me a favor and just hit that subscribe button right now. It does me a massive favor and it pushes me to keep making these weekly videos of showing you the insight into buying cars, into selling cars, and into the general car market. So hit that subscribe button right now. But for now, let's head down to the auction. I'm going to give you a walk around of the car, start it up, check everything, and then we're going to go for a first drive and see what on earth is a Volkswagen Polo like after it's done 200,000 miles. So let's get going now. Alright, it's absolutely freezing, but I'm going to give you a walk around off this super high mileage Polo. So, I think it's fair to say it is looking pretty clean. The worst thing I've noted on this car, which I was aware of before, is on the rear quarter. So we've got a bit of a scuff over here. Part of that might be able to flatten polish out potentially, but as we go to the rear bumper, whatever's happened, it's had a little bit of a knock, a bit of a scuff, which has led to that, and a little bit of a crease in the panel. But even still, a car that's done 200,000 miles, crazy. Let's have a look around the back as well. Look at that, paintwork is looking very nice, and the overall condition, I guess it is 58 plate, so it's not super old in comparison to some of the other stock that we have, but mileage wise this is crazy. Driver's side, so the first thing we can note, we've got a bit of a scratch. Someone's keyed this car, don't know why someone's done that to this car, but it is what it is. We can potentially try T-cut some of that out, but I think this does look a little bit, yeah, that's a bit too deep there, that's not going to come out. Tyres are looking very good, rear tyre looks pretty new, you can still see the little stamps on it. I'm genuinely very surprised at how well looked after this car looks from the outside, but in reality what's important is how the engine's going to be sounding, which we're going to do very shortly. But that's the outside, let's go check the interior. Right, so first glance at looking at the interior, it isn't in bad condition, I'm going to say, but you can see there is a lot of dirt, especially ingrained into the seats. But good thing with cloth interior, it's very easy to bring it up to a good standard. Now we're definitely going to get this valeted and bring it up to its best possible condition that we can. Down over here on the carpet floor, same sort of thing, it's not that bad. The mats could do with probably replacing, they look a bit cheap. The actual carpet in the car just needs a good old clean. Even over on this side, exactly the same situation with the seat. It's not in that bad of condition, however it just needs a good old valet. Down here looks a bit cleaner than the driver's side, as you'd expect. Let's check the rears. Okay, so the headrests have been put on the seat, but let's just chuck them on the floor for now. What's this? Bit of free de-icer, definitely going to add a bit of value to the car, maybe an extra tenner. Where's this come from? Oh, I think that's come from the side of the seat. Oh yeah, I think that's come from there. We'll sort that out later anyway. General condition of the rear seats, especially around the centre part, it needs a good old clean, but in all honesty, 200,000 mile car looks pretty good to me. Let's pop the bonnet as well, let's go check the water and oil. I tell you what, that is looking really clean. I can't see any major oil leaks, anything along those lines. 200,000 mile engine, look at that. And it's a 1.2, this isn't a big 5 litre engine, this is a small engine that's done this sort of mileage. It looks super clean. The coolant as well, that's looking good, it's about halfway. Let's check the oil. Now, just a point to add, this car hasn't got service history, so the oil is looking not brand new, but it's not looking too old either, and it's about halfway on the dipstick. But I'll probably look to get a service done on this car anyway, as it's not got any history that I'm aware of. But let's jump in the car, let's get this car started, and fingers crossed it's not going to sound like a bag of nails. God, it is absolutely freezing here. I think it's about -1 today. It is not the weather to be filming outside. But look, I'm really impressed with this car at the moment. Of course, I'm yet to get it started, but everything is looking really nice at this moment. So I'm quite confident, but we're going to start it up. Rather than me rambling on, let's get on with it. All right, how are we looking? So all the lights go off. Fingers crossed, guys. I cannot believe it. Listen to that engine. Oh my God. You're listening to the sound of a car which has done 199,514 miles. Let me just give it a little bit of a rev. How good does that sound? I'm just going to flip around and show you the mileage. Look at that. 199,514 miles. No engine lights on, no ABS lights on. The only light which is on is the handbrake, but obviously the handbrake is on. Let me get all the cameras set up, and then we're going to take it for its first drive and talk a little bit more about this high mileage Polo and what the plans are. So stay tuned, guys. Right, so let's get going. See how the clutch is. Oh, biting point on the clutch is really good. It's really, really nice and light. Feels like the clutch is new. Okay, first impressions. Not too bad. Little bit of maybe lower arm suspension noises. Very little wobble. Let's pull away. Wow. This car does not feel like it's done 200,000 miles. We're only just driving out of the BCA premises at the moment, so I can't really get it up to speed, but first impressions. But that's a bad speed bump. It seems pretty good. There is a little bit of noise coming from maybe the lower arms, but hard to say exactly what that is. We're just driving so little at the moment. But another speed bump, we'll take you with a bit of speed here, see what it's like. Seems fine. Seems fine. Nothing out the ordinary. So you know what? I'm pleasantly surprised. I didn't know what to expect buying this sort of car at this mileage. Blind, you know, without seeing it, hearing it, seeing what the clutch is like, but I'm very pleasantly surprised. Let me just get out of the premises, go for a proper drive, and I'll give you the real insight into what this is like, because we need to get up to speed and up to temperature. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. How are you doing, all right?
Not too bad, thanks.
Good.
200,000 miles on this, you wouldn't believe it, would you?
200,000 miles?
Yeah, 200,000 miles.
Looking bad, isn't it?
I know, yeah.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers, see you later, mate. Yeah. Well, you had that yourself, didn't you, guys? Even the guy at the checkout, when I just told him the mileage, even he's shocked. So, first impressions, 4th gear, 5th gear. It's driving really, really nice. I buy and sell a lot of Volkswagen Polos, so I get a good feel for those types of cars. And in all honesty, this does not feel any different to the cars which I sell with half the miles at 100,000. So it just goes to show these are good cars. They last a long time, and it's a 1.2 engine. You don't generally see small engine cars live a long life necessarily. A lot of the times, what do you see at this sort of mileage? Diesel cars, fuel light, big engines, you know, your 3 litres and upwards. You tend to see those sort of engines, not a 1.2 Volkswagen Polo. And even now, I've had the engine running for a little bit at the auction. We've got it up to temperature, so it's sitting nicely at 90 degrees. No warning lights other than a fuel light, no engine management, ABS. Nothing to say that this car has had a problem. I mean, look, foot flat. It's 200,000 miles. I know I keep going on about it, but I'm just so pleasantly surprised and happy to see this car is driving well. It's a blind buy. You don't know what you're going to be getting yourself into. And I'll be completely honest, even though my plan will be to sell this car eventually, I bought this car for you guys. I wanted to buy something a bit different, because this isn't something which everyone sees every day. This is probably the highest mileage car that I've even driven myself. So I wanted to bring something different, and it's nice to see so far it's going well. Now, a little bit about the car. So it's a 2-owner car, and the person who recently had it owned it since 2014. So it's long-term ownership, just under 10 years. And if you look at the previous MOT history, you can see that person has predominantly done most of the mileage on this car. The car looked like it was in fantastic condition. Looking from the photos of what I saw, you know, there were a few little marks on there, but it just did not look like a car which had done 200k. Again, that just made me feel this could be a good car. This could be someone who's looked after it, even though it's done the mileage. Sometimes it's not always a bad thing. It means the car's being used, it's being driven, and the fact that it looked clean told me that whoever owned this car cherished it and liked to look after things. So that was the second plus point. And the last thing is, the car had a long MOT, so I believe it's valid till, I want to say August, but I'll have to double check. So that's a long MOT on this car. And when it had its MOT, it failed on the exhaust. I would assume an engine light was on or something along those lines. But obviously it had been repaired and passed, so that tells me that someone, even at that mileage, spent the money on the car so they can continue to drive it. A lot of people, if they had a car at that mileage and it failed an MOT, they'd probably think, do you know what, let's not put money into it, let's just scrap it or get rid of it. But this owner didn't do that, so that made me think the car must be good. It must drive very, very good for them to still be spending money on it, and that is exactly what it's doing. The car does drive very, very nice. Now, unfortunately, the one thing which is missing on this car is a service book, and at this mileage, it is a shame because this car would have had to have been serviced throughout its life to get to this mileage. There's no way this car hasn't been serviced. Another nice thing about it as well, like I said, is the clutch. It feels like it's been replaced. The clutch is super, super light. The biting point is in a great position. So that was something I was unsure of. I didn't know what to expect. Again, never buying a car before at this sort of miles, you just don't know what to expect. But, you know, look, even just listening to the car now on idle sounds fantastic. So what is the plans for this car? Well, first thing is we're going to get it dropped off to the garage just to get a once over checked over, make sure everything's okay with the car, and if anything needs addressing, like those lower arms potentially, if there is any bushes or whatever that could do with replacing, we'll get those done. From that, I'm going to get the car valeted because it definitely needs a good clean inside. It's not bad condition, but getting it cleaned, we're going to make it look a lot better. And then we can talk about the sale price because it is super, super high miles. Yes, it's a 58 plate car, it's a match edition, so it is a decent spec. You've got your AC, electric windows, electric mirrors, heated, alloy wheels as well, so it is a nice spec for a Polo. But at the end of the video, I'll give you a walk around of the car and we'll talk about all of those things along with what is going to be the sale price for this car, because it's going to be interesting to see where this sits in the market. But look guys, if you are enjoying this video and you love this type of content, please hit that subscribe button, like this video, share the hell out of it, because it just gives me more motivation to keep posting these videos every single week. So I'd really appreciate if you could do that for me, guys. But for now, let's get this one dropped off to the garage, and then I'm going to catch up with you shortly and we're going to get into the conclusion on this 200,000 mile Volkswagen Polo. So stay tuned, I'll see you in a few days. Right, so let me give you the walk around of the car now, since it's been valeted and ready for sale. So I'm actually going to leave the engine running on this one so you get to hear what a 200,000 mile engine sounds like running. But let's give you a walkthrough anyway. Nothing too drastic to see on the exterior. As we spoke about earlier in the video, this car is in fantastic condition, bar one or two sort of scratches on the quarter panel, which there wasn't a lot I could do about that because they are deep scratches, but this car does not look like it has done that sort of mileage. I appreciate it is raining, the car is wet, so it does look a bit more glossier than it would in natural light. But just having a walk around, you would never have thought the miles on this car are touching 200,000. How many times am I going to say 200,000 in this video? I don't know. Comment down below and let me know how many times it has been said. Very clean car, very happy with how this is looking. But let me show you the interior, because that's where we've got the most difference made after getting it valeted. So let's jump in while it's raining. Right, so going into the interior, I'll keep it short and sweet as it is pouring it down at the moment. But as you can see from before, the car is looking very, very nice. There still is a little bit of wear to this seat, but that is expected on this sort of miles. A little bit of dirt down here, but this is just from today, from me getting in and out of the car. But in all honesty, having a quick glance at this interior, it is in fantastic condition. Getting it valeted has made a big difference and really shows how well kept this car has been over the years. Let me show you the back as well. So the rears were not necessarily in the worst condition to begin with, but of course, getting that cleaned, getting the carpet down here wiped up and cleaned, it really just emphasizes how well this car has been looked after and maintained. Honestly, they borderline look like they are brand new and have not been used. So interior wise, very, very happy. Thumbs up. Car is looking fantastic. So hopefully that has shown you the transformation on this car. I know it's not necessarily night and day, but we can see a big improvement to the interior of this car. All things into consideration of the age and the mileage, I think it is a tremendous, fantastic, clean example of a Volkswagen Polo. So now let's talk about all of the things which I did need to get done to the Polo. So obviously I touched on earlier when I was driving this car back, there was a couple of noises we heard from the suspension, little wobbles, along with the fact that this car didn't have any paperwork in terms of the service history, which is a little bit of a shame, but I'm 99% sure this car has been serviced. It is super unlikely that a car with this mileage hasn't been serviced. We'll assume it's been done, but unfortunately, if you can't prove it, it doesn't count. So let's talk about the things which I had to get done. So the first thing was getting it dropped off to the mechanics to get everything checked over, just to make sure the car is in roadworthy condition. It already did have a long MOT on there, so it's not something which we needed to refresh, but we did need to get the car serviced. So we got an oil and filter change done. Then upon the inspection, we saw that the lower arm needed to be replaced. It is not a big job on these types of cars. I've had it done before on plenty of other Polos, and at this mileage, it's the sort of wear and tear things you're going to expect. Lower arms, it's probably already been replaced in the past, so at this mileage, it's just common wear and tear. Then the last thing which needed to get done was getting it valeted. Now obviously we touched on this earlier in the video, but it wasn't in terrible condition. It just needed a bit of a deep clean, but because of the type of car this is, super high mileage, I wanted to make sure it's presented in the best possible way on the market, because a lot of people are going to be a bit thrown with the mileage, thinking, you know, how long's this car got left, it's probably not going to be in good condition. So by making the car look as presentable as possible, and in all honesty, making the car look like it's done half the mileage, really will help showcase this car against the other competitors. So I really wanted to emphasize getting that done. It's not a lot of money, it's definitely going to add cash to when I come to sell this car. I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for those things, because they're only small things, but what I do want to do is I'll be interested to hear how much you think I paid for this car on the hammer price, as well as how much all of those points cost me. Now, a lot of you viewers should know by now how much I pay for certain things. So let me know in the comments how much you think this car has cost me up to this point. Now, in terms of the retail price I'm going to be listing this car for, I'm going for the $12,995 mark. That's where I've put this car online in the market at the moment. It was a bit of a tricky one to price this car because there's nothing really to compare it to in the market. So what I'm basing this price on is obviously the other Polos I have to sell with lower miles, but also factoring in the condition of this car. It is a bit newer and it's a good spec, being the match model. So price it at $12,995. I've potentially got 2 viewings on Sunday, so it's looking good so far at that $12,995 price. Fingers crossed we're going to get a quick sale in this car. It is a cheap car, it does drive well. Yes, the car is definitely high mileage, but in my opinion, it's a good example. It drives very, very well, and I feel it will give someone good ownership at a very, very cheap price. But on that positive note, guys, I'm going to end today's video here. If you are enjoying this type of content and you do want to see more buying and selling of these cars from the auction, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope it's been insightful, showing you what it's like buying a car with 200,000 miles. So thank you so much again for watching, and I'm going to see you on the next one. Take care, guys.